Hey, Chris Horrocks with the Afterburner Stove Corporation here. Hey, I just wanted to show you some quick ways that you can find fuel for your rocket stove. Some of them obvious, some of them a little bit, outside the box. But let's get started right here on the side of my house. We had a tree that was growing up and it was damaging the top of the house there. And so we cut it down and it grew back like a weed. Look at this, all these branches coming back out. Now, the first couple of years, I was just hacking on this thing, angry that it wouldn't die. And now, because I own a rocket stove, this is actually my free fuel production center for my rocket stove. So what I do is I just let it grow like this every year, and then I just chop them off, and I've got rocket stove fuel. Another idea for getting fuel for your rocket stove is, have you got a fruit tree you could prune? This here's an apple tree. It needs pruning pretty regular, like every year, and that produces a bunch of branches, which I used to just burn or throw. You would put them out, have the city come pick them up for you. Well, here's an idea: save them, cook food with them for free. So that's an apple tree. If you got any trees that you prune in your yard whatsoever, even bushes, just save the trimmings. That's fuel for your rocket stove that you didn't have to spend any money on. You see these little suckers growing up on here? This used to annoy the heck out of me. That's nothing but work. You got to get in there and hack those off every year. Now I look at it as free rocket stove fuel. Every time I have to go in and take out a batch of these suckers, I don't know, every one of those sticks is enough to cook a complete meal. So I've got a year's supply of camping fuel on one tree every single year. However, if you're like me and you like to cook with your rocket stove when you're not just camping, but all the time, then I got a lot of fuel, but not a year's supply. But between all my different trees, I definitely have free fuel for the entire year. Well, pretty songbird decided to go away, but you see those trees up there? Those are called poplars, and they grow like weeds around here. And what we do is we enjoy them as good landscaping, right? Well, the guy who services my well said they got to come out because the roots go down and then they come inside the well casing and they do damage. But not only that, they send out a bunch of runners under my lawn, and then poplar trees trying to come up through my lawn. Well, I gotta take them out, but I don't have to waste them. That's free fuel for my rocket stove. See all those suckers in there? Those are all just volunteers. They're all just coming up out of the ground. Nobody asked them to, but there they are. And they're not part of the landscaping, so they gotta go. Guess what? I don't have to waste it though. That's free fuel for the rocket stove. Hey guys, welcome back. This is a pine tree growing in my front yard. The pine tree is pretty healthy, but it does have some branches that are dead, and they fall off from year to year in the windstorms. Hey, deadfall is free fuel for your rocket stove, and that's all over every campground, every national forest, everywhere you go, there's gonna be deadfall. And we're only using the really small diameter stuff for cooking in a rocket stove. So we're not looking for big old logs or branches. Just the small deadfall is perfect fuel for rocket stoves. And so this is free fuel, and it doesn't even bother anyone that you're picking it up and burning a handful of twigs. The other thing we have is an abundant source of pine cones. These dried pine cones make perfect tinder to get our fire started, and we could even cook a complete meal just using pine cones. We'll probably do a video on that sometime. Anyway, free fuel for the rocket stove. Here's some trees encroaching on the house. This is, of course, a hazard for the home. When high winds come and those trees move against the shingles and cause a roof leak and things like that. So that's got to be trimmed back. And guys, when you trim things back in your yard, that's free fuel for your rocket stove. Underneath these pine trees, we've got a number of pine cones. Just loads of pine cones all up and down the irrigation ditch and all over the surrounding terrain. And of course, as we mentioned, that's all free fuel for the rocket stove. Let's say you don't have an area in your yard that produces fuel for you, and you need to actually acquire fuel somewhere off the property. One creative way is to help out the Boy Scouts. You know, they're always doing service projects when a Boy Scout becomes an Eagle Scout, and they're always looking for volunteers, and sometimes they're clearing brush. The Boy Scouts in our area just had one such event, and they cleared out a bunch of growth that was causing blind spots for traffic that was crossing a railroad track. So they're clearing out the railroad track right away within 200 feet of either side of an intersection, and in the process we cleared out a bunch of long straight sticks. And I had a few of the loads dropped here at my house as free fuel for my rocket stoves. It's fantastic wood. It's been curing here for since last summer. It's early spring, so it's pretty much getting ready to use. And then I've got, as you can see, a plentiful supply. What did it cost me? A day's worth of service. How much fuel is this? For a StoveTec rocket stove from the Afterburner Stove Corporation, this is a few years worth of cooking every meal, every day. Just get creative, and even if your yard's not producing fuel, you can get fuel. Another way that you can acquire fuel like this for free is to give a ring to your local landscaper who has to pay to dump that stuff at the landfill, and have him drop it at your house once in a while whenever he's doing somebody's yard in your neighborhood. Then you're getting free fuel for your rocket stove, and you're helping out the guy who's doing the landscaping too. It's a good partnership. Free fuel, guys.